I still was so fearful of, oh my God, what if I don't make it?
This episode of Donnie Success Champion is brought to you by the Blue Family Fund. This is a non-profit that's supporting law officers and their children and the dependents of fallen officers. The great thing about this organization is 100% of every dollar generated, every dollar donated, goes right back to the families. Check them out at bluefamilyfund.com.
Guys, so today is going to be a fun one. I am bringing a self-proclaimed, easy for me to say, smartass. She already told me, well, smartass means smartass, so this should be a fun show. I'm bringing in Miss Melissa Love to tell us her story, tell us her journey, and to walk her through the ups and downs of her life and what she's got going on. So, Melissa, welcome to the show. Tell us your journey.
Thank you. Well, I'm so happy to be here. Well, I've worked on the advertising agency side for about 22 years. Customer service, always frontline communication. About 6 weeks after graduating from college, I found myself on the runway in Gary, Indiana, which was murder capital of the world at the time, with none other than the Donald Trump. And no political affiliation, just a part of my past. And I was doing a groundbreaking for the mayor of Gary when he opened his first riverboat there in Gary, Indiana. So I felt like I was, on the way. And I felt like, wow, I made some right decisions. I'm already making, meeting the right people. And, I worked 60 to 80 hours a week. And throughout my career, people frequently asked me, when are you going to start your own company? I even had a venture capitalist say, and he was a friend of mine, he was also a client of mine, and he invested in companies all the time and brought them back and revived them. And he said, I'll write your business plan and I'll even fund you. And I said, I'm not ready. I'm too scared. That just seems like a lot of responsibility. And
wow.
What if it failed?
Say that all again, because literally you had a venture capitalist saying he was going to fund everything, write your business plan, and you said no.
I did. And talk about regrets. I think that's one of my regrets. But nonetheless, he's still a friend. Maybe I should go ask him for money. I don't know.
So remember that last conversation we had? Let's revisit that a little bit.
Right. I know it's been like 15 years, but could we maybe think about that again? But yeah, so, and like I said, I learned a lot along the way and working these, tons and tons of hours and very demanding clients, and then climbed the ladder. And here I was at six figures. I had the corner office. I had a growing team. And one day I said, and I looked around and I said, this is it? I thought it would feel different. So I've been through some really torturous experiences. I found myself at a company that I really loved, but then that company was bought and now it no longer exists. And that entire experience of that company being purchased and 3 vice presidents walking out in one day and me having to pick up the pieces, it was just a soul-crushing experience. And to really not have your input or your contributions acknowledged or appreciated or anything. For instance, I referred a very good friend of mine. They were looking for somebody to travel around and do business development. And I said, why don't you work with this person that I know and is a dear friend? She knows the industry. She knows the ins and outs. She's worked on the client side. Well, they brought her in and then handed her my position, my job. And they told me this five minutes before walking into an all-staff meeting. Yeah. It was those sorts of things that happened to me. And I was not fired. It just wasn't, I wasn't told what my role was. So I was kind of
you bring a friend in. Right. You invite them in to do a business development role, traveling around the U.S. or whatever to do this role.
Right.
They give her your position.
Right.
Don't fire you, but don't tell you what you're going to be doing.
Exactly. And then I walk into a staff meeting where they make the announcement. And, of course, my team members are like, well, what about Melissa? And it was just, needless to say, I'm still friends with that person. We both vomited that evening at our separate, she was in a hotel room and I was at home. And I'm like, what is happening? And still after all that torment and anguish, I still didn't go out on my own. I still was so fearful of, oh my God, what if I don't make it? What if I don't know everything? Because who knows everything, And I think that I've learned from opening my own company, I've always done a lot of fake it till you make it. And I've also heard some really inspiring stories about people that, we had no idea what we were doing, but we were still successful. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just going to do what I know is best. And I'm sure I'm going to make some mistakes and hit some roadblocks, but I'm just going to do what I think is best. Because I think that, I read this book recently called Multiplier, and it's about multipliers and diminishers as leaders. And I found myself, before opening my own business, it was a final, nail in the coffin sort of thing. And I found myself working for what I would call a diminisher, the person that's only interested in building an empire, doesn't care who he steps on, really only thinks he's the smart person in the room, and really only the person with the only brain in the room, and super, super micromanaging. So I was working for them for a few months. I got a huge bonus because of all the things and the improvements that I was making for the business. A week later, I went on vacation, came back, and then was fired.
Oh. Wait.
What? Yeah.
You got a bonus, go on vacation, and then you're fired.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it basically came down to that I offered an unsolicited opinion. And I always knew that I had to approach things diplomatically, so I didn't go in there and say, you're doing it all wrong, or I'm just like, hey, here's something to consider. This is what I've seen. Is this something that maybe, should be addressed? And because of me speaking up, I was fired. And it blew my mind at the time. And on my way home from that, I was also pulled over, but I was managed to cry my way out of the ticket, but all was fine there.
Wait, ladies get that luxury better than guys. I'm not crying on my way out of a ticket. The cops are like, really? Come on, dude. So,
well, I didn't have to turn up the volume too much. I was already pretty upset. So I just said, okay, time to ramp it up.
No, I mean, I get the whole speaking up thing. I was not dismissed from a board meeting, but after the fact, I was told that I wasn't allowed to speak up like I did. And the only thing I asked is, why do we do it that way? And the response was, it's because the way we've always done it. I'm like, well, that's stupid. Why would we do that? And the whole room went silent because I'm a bull in a china shop sometimes. And I'm like, what? Did I say something out of turn? And then they just went on with the meeting like I wasn't even there. And then afterwards, they came up to me afterwards and said, yeah, we don't handle ourselves in a meeting that way. I'm like, well, that's the reason you guys are stagnant and aren't growing. It's because you're doing things the way you've always done it.
Right.
And I wasn't dismissed from the meeting, but I'm no longer on that board. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I'm also a pretty outspoken person, and I really do hold myself back at times. I've learned that it's just a better approach to sort of hold back a little bit, so I'm not so emotional when I do finally give the opinion I think. And I felt at that position that I was acting extremely diplomatically and very helpful. I mean, I just got a sizable bonus. So I thought that I had that, latitude to say some things about some things I was noticing that probably needed to be addressed. And I was no longer in a management role, but I was doing a lot of managerial things to move that company forward, even though I didn't have the actual title schmeitel,
Right.
And I just think that experience told me, was really the turning point for me. Is like, why am I going to continue to work for people that don't measure up to my standards? And I don't really think I have high standards. Give your team opportunities to grow. Give them opportunities to be in the spotlight. and give them the tools that they need to do their job efficiently. I hate duplication of efforts. I hate inefficiencies. I also like the people that surround me to behave ethically. I know it's a crazy thing. And then the last thing I really think about is how do I help everybody play nice? Can you say things diplomatically and still get your point across? But sometimes I think you have to be that bull in the china shop to kind of shake things up, because people are they bury their heads in the sand for so long. I mean, they've been doing something a certain way for so many years, and they can't see the sun despite themselves.
Well, to that point, I just finished up a 9-month leadership course, and I paid a good amount of money for this course, and I was miserable the entire time. But I'm one of those people that if I signed up for it, I'm going to push through it because I feel like I can learn from any situation. Well, about halfway through, I started really being Donnie and started telling, why are we doing this? Can we just get past this? We don't need to do all this. And what was funny is we'd finish every day of these leadership, and this leadership, you did one day a month where you showed up to this leadership thing. And when we get to the end, people all day long would be bitching and moaning about how horrible this program was and how they weren't getting things out of it. And then we'd get to the end of the day, and people would stand up, and they were like, this was fantastic, wonderful, and I'm looking around at everybody, and they're avoiding eye contact with me because they know when it gets to me, I'm like, okay, well, today sucked. I didn't really feel like I learned a whole lot. I didn't feel like I got anything out of this. And people afterwards would come to me, they're like, thank you for being so honest. I'm like, where were you?
Yeah, thanks for your lack of courage.
Right. So you've done all these corporate cool experiences. You've got a couple of right hooks along the way. I mean, it's almost like you got a severance package to be fired,
I guess, yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of anybody getting a bonus and then getting fired, so that's a new one for me. Where's all this take you? Where do you end up after you get let go from the company?
I said I'm not going to work for somebody else again. I said that, what is the definition of an idiot doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result?
Right.
I felt like that's what I was doing. And I'm like, why am I continuing to work for these people, again, that don't measure up? And again, I don't think that I have high standards. I have standards. I just don't think it's very high.
Well, you're hanging out with me on this show, so you're too high. I mean, no.
And I started thinking about, I'd also worked for a company that was marketing automation, and I handled their client success program. And I saw a lot of things at that company that we celebrated the sales team. Anytime somebody got a sales, we'd ring a bell and everybody would clap, woo, and we would celebrate the developers because they're the people that, did all the coding, and they're basically considered the inventors of the organization. So we celebrate them. But we don't celebrate those customer service people. And they're your ambassadors. If there's somebody that you should be taking care of, it's those frontline people that if they're having a bad day, guess what? That's probably going to flow into a conversation they have with a client. And why are we not supporting them and celebrating them more? Why are we not giving them opportunities for growth? And, from people that work at the water company and their call center to people that work at Kohl's doing, customer service, stacking the shelves and ringing up customers. Customers can be extremely mean, let's just say it, and uncompromisingly angry at times.
For no reason.
Yes, exactly. And so, imagine if you're on a call with a client and they're just raking you over the coals because their water bill's not right or whatever, or I was not charged the right thing, or my computer was not delivered, any number of things. And they're just, some people yell and scream and cuss at you, and it's not that person on the phone's, fault. And then you expect them to pick up the next call and just to be happy-go-lucky. Right. Yeah, I'm so glad that you called. I don't know that, do we really create an environment around those customer service people that supports that? But what if you had a really strong team that knew each other so well that they could see that something was happening, across the cubicle, Jenny's got a call. Oh, she's got that George. He's on the call again. He's complaining about his computer. This is the 5th time he's called this week. she's done everything right. It looks like she's maintaining composure, but, what's that in her eye? Is she starting to tear up? And what can I do? Can I give her, because I know her so well, can I give her, a thumbs up or, you got this? And I think you've got to create a team that really supports you emotionally and psychologically so you can get right back up on that horse and say, you know what, I got this. I can take care of this company. And it's because I'm surrounded by these people that have my back. And we don't have those type of organizations. And, from supervisors to managers to executives, it's just, again, we ring the bell for sales. We support those people in dev, but we sort of forget about those customer service people. So my heart is in it to really support those people that take care of our clients. It just makes sense to me.
No, I get it. I mean, because what you made me think of was the complaining and moaning and groaning clients is, where I live in Texas, we're an electricity co-op. And so our kilowatts per hour is ridiculously low. I mean, people who don't live in this co-op really get jealous over how low our electric bill is. And we had a really cold winter for Texas this year, and so the bills went through the roof. And, for the rest of the year, our bills are really low. But to hear the comments that people were putting out towards this electric company, I mean, it was off the chain, the things they were saying. I mean, yes, my electric bill was a hell of a lot higher than I was anticipating. But, what I compared to my neighbors are paying because they're not in this co-op, it was ridiculously low. But people are nasty in general. And the ability for somebody to take it on the chin, get their teeth kicked in or verbally abused on the phone, and then have that tenacity to go through, they should be celebrated because that's right. A skill. And on top of that your customer service people aren't seen as the elite members of a company, right? They're usually seen as that entry-level bottom tier of the company. Right. On top of that, when they are the backbone of the company, and without them, you have nothing.
Right.
So that's huge. So what are you doing in that realm to support that world and help out those people?
Well, my elevator pitch is that I help businesses increase productivity through team building and employee engagement projects or programs. And I do that through applied improv. So instead of being on a stage where you're performing for an audience, applied improv is where you use improv in your everyday life. This, right now, what we're doing is improvisation. We didn't plan this conversation. I wrote some notes, I'll be honest.
Oh, you did better than I am because I got shit. So.
Right. So every single word that you're doing right now is completely improvised. And every conversation and interaction that we have with most people along the way is all improvised. And so I help people respond positively in the moment to whatever they're hit with. And I also, through my team building exercises, I help people just break down those barriers that adults put in their way. And I like to say that I give adults permission to play again, because if you're playing, hopefully you're laughing, and then you're opening yourself up. You're being more open to one another. You're having fun. So that's going to make you more creative, and that's also going to make you more innovative. Because now, we also have this thing that, we put these judgment monkeys, I call them, on our shoulders as adults, which says, oh, you're not good enough, or don't say that, you suck, or you can't get up in front of a team of people, you're probably going to trip and fart. And I work really hard with every team I work with to throw those judgment monkeys off their shoulders and stomp the crap out of them. Because, if you can't knock those judgment monkeys off your shoulders, you're not going to move forward. You're not going to fail, and you're not going to succeed. And I believe strongly in failing. In improv, we celebrate failure, because if you are really putting yourself out there and you're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're really putting, really being in the moment, and guess what? You might break the rules or maybe make a misstep, but guess what? You were doing it. You were in it. You were committed, and you were present. And if you feel like you messed it up a little bit, raise your hand, and we'll do a failure bow right now, and everybody in the room is going to celebrate that. What is it?
Love that.
Like, failure, like the word fail, like first attempt in learning. I totally believe in that because, you don't succeed the first time you're out. I mean, I don't normally. So why not celebrate?
I don't know. I'm a rock star all the time, so I never screw anything up. Yeah, right, my ass.
Right. Right.
So I love this thought process because I've never thought about it that way. I have never thought about my podcast, my speaking engagement, my training, my coaching as being an act of improv. I mean, that is, I mean, you're 100% right. Is most times I'm completely pulling shit out of my ass based off of what the person I'm talking to is, and it is 100. Because when I hear improv, I think, oh, that's a comedy stand-up. That's the guys in Fort Worth a 4-day weekend, or it's the Whose Line Is It Anyway guys, acting out a humorous skit. I never correlate that into everyday life. That's a really, really cool way of looking at it. So with your training, and I love the celebrating fail, by the way, that's just huge because you don't learn shit without screwing it up. Are you taking people through skits and acts to learn this improv and to go with it? What are you doing?
Not really. Like, I'll describe one thing. Like, if I have a larger group, I'll start normally with a rock, paper, scissors championship. Most everybody, and I start with that is because most everybody knows how to play rock, paper, scissors. And I don't want to immediately put the spotlight on anybody because I want everybody to feel like this is low pressure exercises. I am not going to put you on stage to do a skit. That's just not part of what I do.
Right.
Instead, I'm going to ask everybody in the room to pair up. And you're going to do rock, paper, scissors one time. And whoever wins goes and finds another winner. Whoever doesn't win then is that person's immediate cheering section. So then you get down to 2 people at the very end. So you've got this one part of the room that's cheering on this one person and chanting their name, and they're totally obnoxiously clapping. And then you've got this other side of the room that's cheering on this other person because through all those wins, they've now gathered more and more cheerleaders. Okay.
Love that.
So now you're down to 2 people, and then you find one winner that is the championship rock, paper, scissors. And the energy in the room goes up. Now you've also gotten into people's personal space. Adults, we like our personal space. But now we've got into their personal space. Now we're celebrating something together. Did it mean that much? No. But did it feel good to celebrate one another? Even if you were not the winner, did it feel good to celebrate the people around you?
Well, I'm pretty badass at rock, paper, scissors. So I'm just going to say that I'm going to win that whole thing. But I might be that guy that also finds a few ways to cheat my way through it to make sure I win the whole damn thing. No. But I love that. And I think corporate America as a whole, they really crush people being their authentic self, right? You're really supposed to go into look a certain way, act a certain way, dress a certain way, carry yourself a certain way, that they really don't like it when people are authentically themselves. Right. So I'm totally loving this idea that life is kind of this improv as you go through because it allows people to put their authentic foot forward. And I think companies that embrace that authenticity allow a customer service team to be real.
Right. Instead of so scripted.
Yeah. Because when you talk to a customer service team and you get to somebody that's just sitting there reading that list, off, and you're like, really? I'm Donnie. Hi, Sally. Hi, Bill. Hi, whoever. Can you put the frickin' paper down and let's have a conversation?
Right. It's when you ask for the supervisor is when it becomes unscripted.
Right. And the supervisor's like, yeah, we'll just do this. Well, like, right. Fucker, why couldn't the guy before that just do that? I mean.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you do this from a lot of public speaking? Are you doing this for organizations? Are you going in and teaching these customer service skills? Do you do improv on the weekends? Those type of things.
Yes to all the above. Like even for like organizations, like associations, a lot of times they're both a networking sort of organization as well as an education. So I love those sort of organizations because they might not be really great at networking, and I'll do a speed networking session, which is basically like team building, and I allow people to get to know each other quickly. Another game I play is come over here. And I'll say, okay, everybody scatter about the room, and I want you to say things that are honest about yourself. And I want you to raise your hand, and I want you to have people that also share their characteristics join you wherever you're standing. So, like, come over here if anybody's been in a coma. Yes, I've been in a coma. Another story, another podcast.
Wow.
And then anybody else that had also been in a coma would join me. Everybody over here that loves dogs. So, again, everybody over here that went to UT. Everybody over here that's not an Austin native. Everybody over here that is a parent. Everybody over here. So you're immediately and quickly finding these characteristics that we're always looking for, that connection with people. What do I know about somebody? How can I relate to them? How can I honestly really connect? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I don't care about how much money I made. I want my legacy to be, did I support people? Did I connect with people? Did I make them feel positive? And if people feel a commonality in somebody, that makes them feel legitimate. And that I mean something, and that I'm relevant to whatever's going on in the world.
Absolutely.
And I'm not in this alone.
Right. And I always love telling people this is, do you know how to know somebody's a Marine?
How?
They tell you in the first 5 seconds, right?
They do. I think you're right.
Right. I've spoken because I am a Marine, right? So, and I've had people ask me, they're like, why do you tell people you're a Marine? I'm like, well, if you knew my past, you knew that it took me a long time to tell people I was. But now I do it because I'm in a room full of people and I have that veteran status. You're going to find the one, maybe two other veterans in a room, and now you have that instant connection.
Right.
And the conversation, the dynamics of that conversation changes. So that's huge. I love that you're teaching that. I went through one improv class, and I realized I should never be an improv actor, even though the class was a lot of fun. I'm too rough around the edges for some arenas, but they taught us a skit, a skill, a thing called yes and.
Yes.
Can you walk us – I'm glad your face lit up. Can you walk us through yes and how that works?
Well, and I do this for a lot of salespeople. I started with, you have maybe a pair of people, and the first person is I'm going to say, okay, I want you to plan a party for somebody that you like at work. Let's say it's their birthday party, okay? And the first person's going to start with any phrase to start this party out. So I would start with, let's have this party at the beach. The first round is yes, but. So they're going to respond with a yes, but what if the waves get too high? And then the other person has to now counter that or go somewhere else with the party. And, okay, so I would like us to also swim with the dolphins. Yes, but they're really big and they could be really terrifying. And I heard once that George didn't like large animals. So you're going back and forth. You get this yes, but is kind of like, it's not saying no, but it's sort of a polite way to say no. But if it turned that around, and if I started with, I want to have a party at the beach, and then my partner says, yes, and we're going to go swim with the dolphins. And then I say, and we're going to have those hula dancers. Yeah, and we'll have Boivin hula dancers too. And it just ramps up the energy because you're building. You're accepting, and you're building on something in a positive way. And I think that works also in like a brainstorming session. It's like sometimes I'll encourage people to forget about the objective of the business brainstorming session that you're going to have, because how many brainstorming sessions have you really been to that have been really effective and like something came out of?
That usually somebody has their own agenda, right? And they're like, okay, we're going to brainstorm, but really what I want you to do is just agree that my idea is the best way to start in the first place.
Right. Or I've been to many that just sort of fall silent and like hit a roadblock like immediately. But I find if you do something like yes and, start with yes but, go to yes and, or do something that is just a little bit different is like not only that, where you have two people pair up before your objective business meeting, and you pair up and you say, we're going to go on the most amazing, my dream vacation. let's plan my dream vacation. And I want you each to respond. The person's going to say, I want to go to Hawaii. And the person's going to say, not only that, and then continue on. So it's just another deviation, another version of the yes and story, but it's saying yes to it and building. So it puts you into that mindset of already being creative, already being innovative, and being open to whatever ideas there are. Because often in brainstorms that I'm in, you'll have one person as that naysayer. Well, that won't work because whatever. No, we're not at that stage of the brainstorm. We're not process of elimination. Let's not cross anything out, because I want people to be inspired by this brainstorm. I want this idea that's way, way, way out here to be brought up, because even though it might not work exactly to our objective, it's going to inspire these other 3 people to say, oh, and if we did that, we could do this, and we could do this, and we could do this. And then now, wow, what do you have? You have this amazing idea, and this brainstorming session just blew your freaking mind, and you've moved this project so much further.
Well, and I think that's huge, because you get that mentality sometimes in those conversations of, well, we tried that years ago, that just didn't work, right? Or that won't work for our company. And when you do that, you shut down all the thought process versus maybe looking at it from a different angle. You know, what doesn't happen in a lot of business meetings, go back to that board meeting where I was, asked to not be part of that board anymore, is everything in that meeting was damn near timed, how long you were allowed to speak, what you were allowed to say, what you were allowed to do. It shut down all creativity. Right. And all ability to grow. So I love this concept. How would a company know that they need your service? I mean, what are those kind of key indicators for them? They're like, we're stacked up against it. We've got to do something. And they come find you.
Are you losing customers? Are you losing employees? You've seen just a tremendous amount of employee turnover. I'm talking to one company right now that they've had a lot of C-suite executives come in, and it's changed the culture tremendously. And they've even gone as far as do not just 1 employee survey, but 3 employee surveys. And yet they've not taken action. So now they have this data, and it's basically telling these employees that we want to hear what you have to say, but oh no, we really don't. We're just going to throw that in the trash. We're not going to act on anything. We're just going to keep on keeping on. And we just did that to make you feel good at the moment. And companies that have really grown really fast. So maybe you have a lot of people that have worked there for a long time, and then you have a lot of new people coming in, and maybe you've lost that culture, or maybe you just don't have that unified approach to projects that you used to, because people don't know how to talk to one another. People don't know one another. You gotta create a society within your company that people can holler out, hey, I need some help with this, or I have a question, and not be made to feel like they're dumb or they're less than, just like that brainstorming thing. That one person that maybe had that one amazing idea and was immediately shut down, guess what? They're probably not going to talk the rest of the brainstorming session. Any company that wants to push the envelope of innovation is great for me. Again, if you've had to merge 2 companies together and it's still that us and them sort of philosophy, and they don't understand us, they don't get what we do, or they just don't get it, then that's me. That's a perfect thing. Also, any company with multi-departments, because working from an advertising agency, it was always the creative and account service people that were at each other's throats all the time. And getting those people to work together is where the magic happens, because they understand, those account people understand that client so well, but they can put on those rose-colored glasses and only see it from a client's perspective, where your creative people are not so deep in the trenches. They can say, hey, let's rise above that. And let's think about it this way.
Yeah, I would also, along those lines, think a lot of mergers and acquisition companies that are doing a lot of buying out new companies and whatnot would probably be a solid fit for you.
Yes.
Always trying to merge those 2 type of cultures together is got to be a difficult maneuver, because I've coached a couple of clients through that all the way through. That's awesome. Where do you improv at on the weekends?
Well, I teach classes at the Hideout Theater, which is downtown here.
Downtown where?
Down at 7th and Congress.
So that's in Austin?
It is.
All right.
And that is about it, because really I am so focused on growing this business, and it's less about the performance. It's really about that applied improv and how I can use it every single day and how I can inspire others to do it. That's really where I'm focused. And I love creating new games, and I just don't take the time to perform that much. I certainly would, and I do from time to time, but I don't do it a whole lot.
So no aspirations for Second City or anything like that?
Zero aspirations. Because of my 22 years on the corporate side, I bring to it this applied improv perspective that I understand the politics and the demands that clients can put on us as teams. That sets me apart from other theaters that do what I do. Is because they come from academia or they come from a theatrical background, and even though they these skills still apply, they've not lived it like I have.
Right.
From Rolls-Royce and the Trump Entertainment Resorts and the SuperValu and Dairy Queen and pizza, all of those things. That's my competitive edge.
Yeah, makes sense. So as we look towards wrapping the show up, this has been a lot of fun, girl. Well done. I always like to ask my people this, and I always catch everybody off guard with this question, so you're forewarned. But everybody's on a journey, right? And everybody's heading somewhere. So if you could leave somebody with a thought, a idea, a phrase, a slogan, something they could put in their toolkit that they could take with them on their journey, maybe when they're stacked up against it, maybe when they're going for it and it's kicking their ass, or maybe they're getting ready to step out and try something new, what would be that phrase, that thought you would say, take this with you and use it?
That is putting me on the spot.
I told you. Improv your ass off.
And I don't know that it's one thing. I mean, I think that I wish that I would have started my own business so much sooner in my life, because I would have had so less anguish. And certainly it can be scary, but the effects of what I'm doing are so positive and are so enriching to me and the people that I work with. And, I never thought I'd want to be in sales before, but when you're doing something that you actually believe in, I don't feel like it's sales. I've sold products and experiences before, but my heart wasn't in it. So I think that your heart has got to be in what you do. I mean, I think that's where millennials have pushed us, and the whole workplace dynamic has changed, where they don't want to just work at a place for 20 years. They want to make for sure that they're making a difference and they feel like they're making a positive impact on whatever it is that they're doing. And I think that that's what you have to look for. And if you're miserable, get the hell out and do something else.
Oh, yeah. No, that's awesome. No, life's too short to do something you don't love.
Exactly.
So, that's awesome. Well, Melissa, how do people get in touch with you? If they want to bring you in to train their people, see the improv training, which I think would probably be a lot of damn fun, how do people reach out? How do they find you?
Well, I have a website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. EverybodyUpTX.com. That's T is in Texas, X is in Texas.com. And all of my information is there, so feel free to look me up on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Or if you're having whatever problems you're being presented, I'd love to brainstorm with you and just chat.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Melissa, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Wow, that was just an awesome episode. What a freaking journey. Man, when you hear stuff like that, you just get goosebumps on the ride. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this episode. Please do me a favor, comment on it. Let this person know how much you value their story, their information. Please share this with your friends. It would mean everything to me.